Namaste and welcome. It's Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we are going to be exploring the final of the non-Vedic philosophies. So far we have explored the 6 Vedic philosophies: Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa and Vedanta. And then we looked at the non-Vedic philosophies, which were Buddhism and Jainism. And today we explore the Charvaka philosophy. Now, this philosophy is going to be a complete surprise for you. It is going to be something that takes you aback. It is going to be something that essentially is going to be quite interesting for you to learn. That this is also, or was also, one of the core Indian philosophies. Okay? So let's get into it. Now, the Charvaka philosophy was actually given by the founder of it was Brihaspati. Charvaka, what does Charvaka mean? So it comes from Charu means sweet and Vak means speech. So it means sweet speech, or rather the kind of words that everybody loves to hear, essentially. So it will not surprise you that Charvaka actually is a very materialistic philosophy. The only one from the 9 core philosophies of India, the one that is complete materialism. So just like the others, this philosophy answers the 3 questions. Sorry, I can't contain myself. It answers the 3 questions. Who am I? Why is it that we suffer? And how to become free of suffering, essentially. Okay? So I'm going to give you the essence of the philosophy, and we're going to answer these 3 questions. So let us get into it. The first one: who am I? What is the nature of the self? And because this is a materialistic philosophy, it takes only direct observation as a source of knowledge. If you remember, initially in the first Nyaya philosophy, we looked at the different sources of knowledge that are valid, essentially, like inference, right? This one takes only direct observation. So only what you can see is real, only what you can observe with your own eyes, with your own senses is real. And therefore, your true nature, who you really are, is the physical body. Your body is all there is. There is no Atma, there is no Jiva, there is no soul. You are the physical body, essentially. That is only what is real because you can see it. Very simple, right? You are the physical body. When you die, the physical body also dies. And this is, we spoke about this in the previous video. The term that is used these days, YOLO, you only live once. YOLO is a very materialistic way of looking at life. And in fact, this is what Charvaka philosophy is saying. YOLO, you do only live once because you are the physical body. Okay? So let's come to the question of why do we suffer? Why do we as human beings suffer in life? And this is something, again, that many of us will relate to. We suffer because we lack the things that will fulfill our desires. We suffer because we lack the things that will fulfill our desires. And in this philosophy, Charvaka actually tells us specifically that in order to be happy, in order to be free of suffering, you must essentially fulfill your desires. You must live with good food, good wine, and good women, or good lovers, essentially. Okay? So the reason we suffer is because we lack the things that would fulfill our desires. So naturally, the way to become free of suffering, is actually to fulfill our desires. So what Charvaka is recommending is that we must earn well. We must focus on earning well, earning good money, and use that money to fulfill our desires. This is the perfect model of what, the Western world is based on. In fact, now we can say the entire world is based on. To basically earn money to fulfill your desires. The American dream, essentially, is this, that you can earn money and you can have anything that you want, you can fulfill your desires. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There is nothing wrong with that. It is actually a path for freedom from suffering. Given a very high place in the schools of Indian philosophy. If you do not have the resources, it is said that you must, what Charvaka is recommending is that you must take credit if you must. Take a loan, use your credit card, any type of debt. But do not give up on the quality of your life. Do not give up on fulfilling your desires. Do not give up on getting the good food, the good wine, and the good lovers, essentially. So, the reason we suffer is because we are not able to fulfill our desires, right? This is true. And the way out of suffering is to actually fulfill our desires. This is also true, right? And it's really important to see that Charvaka, by the way, this philosophy has been given the same place as the other major schools of Indian philosophy. It has been put in the same bracket, essentially, as yoga, as Vedanta. So the question we need to ask is why? Why is this? Why has the materialistic philosophy been put in the same bracket? And the answer is because Charvaka, who was giving this philosophy, was actually not a hypocrite about it. He was not a hypocrite. He was owning up to the fact that yes, this is the way to be happy. This is the way to be happy. If you do this, you will also be happy. He was not a hypocrite. And this is something really fundamental to understand, because these days, what is happening is that we are hypocrites in many ways. We are hypocrites in many ways, right? So, especially if you've just started coming on to the spiritual path, a big part of you wants to have this image, this social image of being somebody very spiritual. But yet, your desires are very material. And you may be fulfilling them secretly. You may be fulfilling them essentially, without making that your identity. But deep down, those desires are there. So, in some way, being a hypocrite actually creates suffering in you. Instead, why not stand tall and say that this is what I believe? I believe that basically materialism, fulfilling my desires, is the way to happiness. And fantastic, right? Everybody in their life has to have at least a part of their life that is dedicated to this. Otherwise, they wouldn't know any better, right? They need to have a part of their life that is dedicated to this. So, okay, let's now look at why was Shankara able to defeat this philosophy. So Shankara, in case you were not aware from the previous videos, had defeated all the philosophies and put Vedanta at the top, essentially. And it's also important to know that he did not discredit those philosophies, nor did he criticize any of the philosophies. What he said is that Vedanta is the ultimate truth. Now, no matter what path you take, you will come to the same realization. You will come to the same realization that everything is one. Everything is one. There is only one reality, essentially. So, what did he say about the Charvaka philosophy? Very simple. He did not criticize it. He said that yes, this is a philosophy that works for many people. And in fact, at certain stages of your of your life, this will work for you. But we must also be aware of the fact that materialism is limited. There is something beyond that. There is something beyond that. So when things are good, when everything is going well, then this philosophy will work really well for you. It will work really, really well. We all know this. I've experienced this for many, many years. But when there comes a time when things go beyond your control, then this does not have the answer, essentially. So for example, let's say you have all the money in the world and you have been living a lavish, kingly life, and all of a sudden you get a disease, both your kidneys fail. You are put on dialysis 3 days a week, 4 days a week, you have to go and do dialysis. Your entire diet has to change. You cannot drink anymore. You cannot eat things that you used to eat. You cannot even move with the same energy and freedom that you used to. I've seen this with both my parents. And then no matter how much money you have, ultimately your life becomes one that there is suffering in there. Then even if you have the resources to enjoy all the pleasures of life, they mean nothing because you cannot enjoy the pleasures of life. The diabetic who has so much money yet can't eat half the things that he or she lays his eyes on. So it is when things are not going our way, when life hits us with some kind of tragedy or another, and it does, right? None of us are going to escape from that. It does. This is when we realize that maybe this philosophy does not have the answers. We can no longer enjoy all the things in spite of having the resources. Then what? Then what? And then, as my teacher used to say, that all of the other philosophies, the yoga, the Vedanta, the Buddhism, they're all there waiting to hold your hand and show you the path to the ultimate happiness, essentially. And this is why that most people come into spirituality only when life has knocked them in some way or another. With me, those of you who watch my videos know that it was at the peak of my addiction to drugs and alcohol, and I started hating myself and I wanted to change. And I wanted to change so badly and just leave all of that behind and take a complete 180 and just clean up my life, spiritualize my life, essentially. So this is one of the the core philosophies, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. But the reason that we learn all the philosophies is so that we know that ultimately this does not have all the answers. It may be good for some time, but there is something beyond that. There is something beyond that. And if we do want that ultimate happiness, then we need to essentially look deeper. And that is what the other philosophies are about. So I really hope that the videos that we've done so far have given you a good understanding of the essence of these philosophies. And of course, in the courses that I run, we'll be going into this in a lot more detail. We will be going into the actual practices of the individual philosophies in terms of meditation in more detail, so that whoever you are able to essentially come into spirituality and without wasting a lot of time, figure out which path is actually good for me. What resonates with me the most, and let me now go down this path. So that is it. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.